guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ate D. I'm a travel nurse, diabetes advocate, and I'm also the advocate of Alaska Mambaling, Cebu City, and the founder of the feeding club in Alaska Mambaling. Guys, this video that I'm going to show you is very, very interesting. You know that I'm a night worker and I'm also a nurse. So I've just wondered why these patients of mine sometimes just like scream, and some of them are like just like doing this fighting thing, and I just realized, like, are they dreaming, or are they just become cuckoo, or am I just gonna be like, oh my god, what's going on? So I was researching about brain activity, and I've just come out with this video. Like, I saw this video on YouTube, and it's about this World Science Festival. So they're talking about sleeping. And this particular part of the video, which is, I'm very interested, and I think you might also be interested. And I just want to share to you guys this video because I think that we might think it's normal, but actually the truth is it's not normal. It is a thing. It is a neurological issue that all of us must understand and must realize that there are help in there that you can get. I'm not sure about the Philippines if we have a very good a neurologist there, but anyway, watch this video and hope you like it. Please subscribe.
Called the substantia nigra. Now, we reported in the journal Neurology in 1996 that 38% of the men with REM behavior disorder eventually converted to Parkinson's disease and nothing else. Now we're up to 81% conversion from REM behavior disorder to Parkinson's disease, and centers from around the world are reporting that at least 2/3 of their patients convert. So really, this is actually an important development in neuroscience and neurology in terms of early intervention of people at risk for future Parkinson's disease. And so this has launched really a major international effort in terms of identifying REM sleep behavior disorder patients and trying to develop trials of what's called neuroprotective agents to delay greatly or even prevent the future emergence of Parkinson's disease. I should also point out that all this makes scientific sense because the cells in the brainstem related to Parkinson's disease interact very, very closely with the cells in the brain involved with muscle activity and the paralysis activity of REM sleep. So a lesion that interrupts the paralysis activity in REM sleep is a lesion that also can produce Parkinson's disease. It's just a matter of exactly where that initial lesion is, and you either get REM behavior disorder first and maybe a decade or two later Parkinson's disease, or you get Parkinson's disease first and later REM behavior disorder, or you get both together. So I think that that was a major kind of scientific revelation about RBD. The good news for us is that we identified a therapy that helped control these poor people hurting themselves and their lives and also restored normal dreams. I think we should show the image of Mel Abel, our really our most famous patient who almost killed his wife. Now, Mel was just the nicest guy in the world. He had a dream one night. And this is how he slept for 5 years before he came to see us. This is a home remedy. He had a belt around his waist. He had a rope tethered around his belt attached to the bedpost. This is his way of preventing himself from flying out of bed and running into the wall. However, it did not prevent him from hurting his wife, Harriet. So one night he had a dream going back to his childhood days in Spooner, Wisconsin. He was with his grandfather. They were pitching hay, and they saw 2 deer running by them. And then the deer disappeared, and then suddenly a doe reappeared, and Mel smashed the doe with his pitchfork, and it stunned the deer that was blathering, and he decided to put that poor deer out of its misery. So in his dream, he grabbed the deer's chin with one hand and the top of the deer's head with the other. It was about to snap its neck when Harriet's screaming woke Mel up, and fortunately, he stopped the process of almost snapping Harriet's neck. Well, obviously, he was extremely distressed, and so was Harriet by this. You know, it's clear. And in fact, Stern Magazine wrote an article in 1988 called "Hunting Deer Under the Blanket," and the New York Times Sunday Magazine in 2003 called it "The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Deer." So extremely dangerous and life-threatening behaviors can occur with RBD. The good news is that we can treat it. The disturbing news is that it can lead to Parkinson's disease, but the hopeful news is that it can lead to early intervention to prevent the progression to Parkinson's disease, because the Parkinson's researchers for decades have been looking for the earliest marker of Parkinson's, and RBD is it. So it's generated a tremendous amount of interest in the Parkinson's disease research community. And we now have an international REM sleep behavior disorder research group, and it's truly international. 4 continents continents are involved, the researchers. And so we're really trying to help the Parkinson's researchers, besides understanding more about the brain during sleep. I think we can go to the video now. And I can show you some examples of RBD and other parasomnias. So this is from our sleep center. These men who are typically 50 years old and older. We don't know why this is a male predominant disorder, by the way. That's a big mystery. But this is what they do. And if you're sleeping by him as this man's wife, you know, these men generally wake up feeling rested in the morning. The wives are wiped out, completely wiped out. And the husbands say, well, why are you so tired? Didn't you sleep well like me? And they say, what do you mean? Look what you did. So these men, they remember their dreams, but they don't know that they were acting them out, and they feel rested in the morning. So I'm going to show this again. So imagine if you're the wife, sleeping night after night, and these episodes occur 4 or 5 nights a week. So you treat the man with this clonazepam, and it's like giving the wife a sleeping pill as well, because she sleeps like a baby after his sleep is under control. But a lot of these patients come to us saying, we want to be believed, we want to be validated. People think we're exaggerating. And in fact, they're not. And the video really is proof that there's no exaggeration here. So let's go to the next video. This is a culture-specific dream and acting behavior from Japan. My colleague Nana Tachibana in Osaka. Apparently in Japan, once a couple has a child, the wife leaves the bedroom with the child, the husband sleeps alone, and REM behavior disorder is detected basically by yelling and screaming. So this man had a dream. He set up a home video, and he's the samurai warrior, acting out a samurai warrior dream. Maybe we can show that one again, please. So here he is, and he only set up the video because he did not believe his wife. And he said, all right, let's set it up, and here's the proof. And in fact, he had to believe that his wife was telling the truth.
Now, how long will he be doing this? Will he go at this all night long?
Well, he killed the enemy, so he doesn't have to do it again. Right?
What's the point?
He did it enough to disturb his wife. So let's shift gears to another parasomnia now. And this is sleepwalking. So this is from delta non-REM sleep, the deepest stage of sleep. The brain waves are the slowest. We should show this again if we could. So out of the deepest stage of sleep, when we have no clue about our environment, our locomotor system gets activated. Our legs start moving. We start standing and walking without any actual awareness of the environment. And you can see how dangerous it is. There she is, Sandy, in our sleep lab, about to fall out of the bed. Her legs are moving, but she has no idea why, and it's so inappropriate. I should give an anecdote of a patient of mine named Jan, who was a sleepwalker as long as she was walking in her life. That's how she described it. So after her divorce, her 9-year-old daughter slept in the same room as Jan, and so in preparation for sleep at night, the shades were drawn completely. But then the daughter was horrified. A few hours later, the mother, Jan, had raised the blinds halfway, was looking out the window. Now, across the street from their home was a cemetery. Jan was carrying on a conversation with the dead people in the cemetery, asking them, who's feeding you? What are they feeding you? Do you feel lonely? And there was a pause between the questions, and the daughter realized she was engaging in a conversation with the dead people in the cemetery in her own mind. She asked her mother at the time, are you awake? And Jan, in a very glazed way, said, yes. Well, the daughter was so horrified by this that she never slept in the same room with the mother again. And in fact, didn't even mention this until she was a teenager. And my patient, of course, felt very, very badly. But that tells you how you don't have judgment. You don't have the monitor going in terms of your activity while you're sleepwalking. You're engaging yourself in sleepwalking behaviors with the environment, but you don't have any awareness. You don't really realize how inappropriate you are. We can go to the next video now. These are 2 patients with...
This is scary.
This is very scary.
So are these night terrors?
They seem like night terrors. The first was a woman in her early 30s. Second is a young girl, 5 years old, screaming at night very loudly. However, these occurred multiple times every single night. Night terrors, even in children who are really most likely to have night terrors, maybe once a week, once a month, but to have multiple episodes every night tells you that something else is going on, and these are nocturnal epileptic seizures, known as the great mimickers. So if you have screaming at night and thrashing around, they could be night terrors, but the history of having multiple episodes every single night really tips the balance towards epileptic seizures, and in fact the brainwave activity in both the woman and in the young girl gave good evidence that there was epileptic activity going on, and they needed anticonvulsant medication rather than clonazepam, which is a benzodiazepine medication. We can go to the next video if we could. Now, this is a completely different parasomnia. We're going to show this a second time. This is a 23-year-old woman who had been sexually abused during childhood by an older sister. And if you look at her shoulders, and we'll show it again, the shoulders seem to be pinned down while there's a lot of pelvic movement. And this really reflects muscle memory going over 2 decades of the sister pinning her down on her shoulders to prevent this poor young girl from running away while there's genital stimulation going on. And here we are talking 2 decades later, and she's recreating the abuse scenario of the shoulders being pinned down and the pelvic stimulation. And this is really a very disturbed kind of poor young woman who needs specialized psychiatric care. But it's in the realm of parasomnias, but it's a psychiatric parasomnia. Okay, we can go to the next video. This is a lady who engages in sleep-related eating disorder, but please focus on her pinky, because her pinky does something very peculiar every time she takes a bite out of her brownie. First of all, the pinky is spread out from the other fingers, which is unusual in itself, but she seems to be nibbling at her pinky and doing funny things. When she saw this video, she said, "I never eat that way when I'm awake. Never." But with each bite of the brownie, let's show her again if we could. So we call this sleep state dependent behavior activation. So it's specific to the sleep state. And it really indicates that this is not normal wakeful eating. So she takes a bite of the brownie, and there goes the pinky. So you know this is not someone who's fully with it in a wakeful mental mode whatsoever. This comes out of intermediate non-REM sleep called stage 2 sleep. And this is typical of sleep-related eating disorder. Most patients have episodes every single night, and they gain weight and they feel very much out of sorts from this eating behavior. And this is called a final common pathway disorder that can be accessed through sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, medications like sleeping pills, or it can just run in the family and be a variation of sleepwalking. But once it becomes well established, it usually occurs every single night, and with a lot of metabolic consequences, obesity consequences, and sleep disruption consequences. And this is one of the tougher parasomnias to treat, although about 2/3 of the treated patients do respond very well to the therapy, but you have to know what the underlying or associated sleep condition is, like sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, to identify the most effective therapy. But you already got a glimpse of how our basic instincts can be released inappropriately during sleep. Later on, I will describe a very dramatic case that made Canadian legal history involving sleepwalking and murder, and I will also describe sexomnia.
Hope you liked the video, and please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Bye!